Hello, and welcome to the short notes on what is the big picture. Now, the big picture is one of the key skills you want to learn about early on in this course, because essentially the big picture is how do you see everything fitting together. It's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, but you are creating the puzzle, the design, and the pieces for it. You essentially create your puzzle. You create your own idea. Thus, you create your own idea, which is the big picture, how everything fits together. Now, to start thinking about what the big picture is, a good skill the students use is to create a mind web. Now, on a mind web, there are essentially 6 pieces that comprise in a mind web. First, let's get into what the most basic idea of what a mind web is. And essentially, a mind web is a visual representation of whatever the intended related information is, whether it's revolution, history, geography, current events, etc. But a mind web helps to structure and organize all of this information for you. But it is organized in a simple visual format where you create the web, like a spider web. You create the connections by drawing the lines that connect up. It is, once again, your idea, your big picture. But it does radiate from a central node, basically in the middle. Now, for most students, early on, when they're creating a central node, they use the historical big 6. And that is either historical perspectives, continuity and change, cause and consequence, historical significance, ethical dimensions of history, or primary sources as a central node. From the central node, the big idea, topic, then you branch out to create what's called parent and child nodes, secondary ones to give more of a structured feel to it. But for mind webs, there is no right or wrong way of designing it because you are the one creating the design yourself. And because of that, mind webs can be hand-drawn or they can be very elaborate. The choice is up to you. However, students will either create mind webs by hand on a large, say, 11 by 17 piece of paper, or there are various programs and online tools that can be used to achieve the same objective. In our sake, either option would be fine to satisfy the intended learning outcome, but also the core competency idea. This is an example of a mind web. This one focuses on the Industrial Revolution. And I chose this one as an example because the Industrial Revolution is a revolution that we will focus the most on. We will, of course, look also at the American and French revolutions, but the Industrial Revolution is the main focus. The parent node in the middle is the revolution, and then the sibling nodes are the causes for the revolution, the inventions, and also the long-lasting impact. You may want to take a pause right now just to look over and get some ideas of how to make a mind web, as well as getting ideas of what we're going to be learning about in the course before we make the personal flight plans. When you are creating a mind web, to pull us back to the beginning, mind webs are connected to the big picture. It's a way to visualize and organize your ideas, how you see all the pieces fitting together. And to achieve this, it is basically a 4-part plan. First begins with clarifying ideas. What are your ideas? What do you know? Interested, curious, confused about? You are getting ideas. And from that leads to brainstorming. Essentially, you are gathering some basic information and thinking about it. Then comes organizing the information, the research, the referencing, visuals. You're gathering all the information that you want to use, to lead up to a fourth and final part, which is the decision making. Remember, the final project for the course is the artifact. You will create or find an artifact that represents what you have learned from taking this course. That, along with the scrapbooks, leads to the big picture, how you see it fitting together. Here's an example of what a possible artifact big picture can fit, like the Canadian birch bark canoe. Canoes, as a stereotype, were the main ways Canadians got around in the early history. Birch bark, birch trees, the winter, fur trade, we paddled our canoes. Or the Huron snowshoes. Now these kind of snowshoes are going to be kind of useless in British Columbia because of the mountains, but in the prairies, the east or the Maritimes, these were very handy because it's not nearly as mountain. Huron, being the first peoples of Ontario, snowshoe, form of transportation. Winter, the identity, the fur trade, is another example of a possible artifact. The main point is to ask lots and lots of questions and to understand that understanding is not factual recall. Understanding is something that is not just sufficient just to remember dates, names, numbers. You want to go deeper than that. Here's your chance for the core competencies to think more. Go deep for it. Think about what you understand, what you have seen or heard or read about. And then think what is actually part of what you will remember. You want to also brainstorm to do some strategic planning of your big picture, those 4 stages, what the final artifact you want to have to represent in the course there. And as I keep on saying, the big picture is a long process of essentially exploration and self-reflection. And that will also be done with our current events and primary sources and our overall class routine. But most importantly, use words, symbols, and pictures that are packed together to create meaning. Weave together colors, positions, and outlines. And most importantly, too, this is individual. There is no right or wrong answer to your idea. Each one of you will have a different idea to the big picture. And that's an example of the content that we will be covering.